All right, let me go ahead and share my screen again. All right. So again, my name is Stephanie Shaw. I'm host of Hello Hot Flash podcast. And again, it comes out each Thursday. I interview menopause specialists, gynecologists, psychiatrists, psychologists, just to make sure that you guys get the information that you need. So make sure that you at some point check out Hello Hot Flash. I'd love to have you in the community. And I also am leader of a new community called The Change. And that's where women who are navigating through menopause come together and talk about the change. Also, we learned some really valuable lessons. And starting this year, we're going to bring in leaders from outside of the community and Christian leaders and also menopause experts to talk to people who are engaged in the change. So just briefly about me, but why do I do this work? This is also me. So I spent between March 23rd of 2017 and sometime late 2019 going through tons of different perimenopausal issues. My hair was falling out, twitching eyes, numbness in my hands and feet, smelling maple syrup. I would smell electricity. I had rapid heartbeat, hot flashes, couldn't sleep at night, just everything. There's about 103 different menopausal symptoms, and I calculated over 40 for myself. But during the time, I didn't know that there were 103 of perimenopausal symptoms. So that's part of the work that I've been able to do. I often say that God turned my pain into my purpose. So I'm super happy to be here with you today. During my time, I went to 18 different doctors, two world-renowned medical facilities, and I spent over $20,000 out of pocket. But while I was in sitting mode, because at that toward the end of that, I also closed my nonprofit. I went back and got two nutrition certifications. So during that time, I've now been coaching other women, and so that's just a little bit about me. I want to once again just say welcome to you. So today we are going to learn some good stuff. We are going to learn help you better understand how food affects your energy, stress, sleep, and even weight in midlife. We often associate food with weight, but not stress, energy, sleep. All of those are impacted by the foods that we eat. We're going to learn a simple way to build a midlife plate. So we're going to go over a couple of nutrition facts and then help you build out your plate. And then understand how prayer, meditation, and praise can take you to the next level. Because I often say, if you listen to the podcast, I'll say some things like food and faith, because those two for me went together. That's how I got the positive results I did after perimenopause by combining food and faith. So we're going to talk about faith as well today. And then we're going to learn a simple way for you to build a faith plate. All right. So let's start by talking about what midlife feels like. Right. Some days it's a little lot. So a lot of times as women, we may be feeling like we are doing something wrong. Like, why are things so different? I could lose weight in 2 weeks, or I could handle stress a lot differently. So we put that burden on ourselves during perimenopause, often thinking that we've never struggled like this before. And if I could just like plug through a little bit harder, just a little bit more willpower, I'm sure I could fix it. But if you're going through perimenopause, you know that is not always the case. It's not a quick fix. It not only takes the nutrition part, but the exercise part. And then you kind of can, get some information from here and there, but then do you follow through? So it takes accountability and having someone on your team that can support you through this midlife change. All of that happens. We also feel sometimes like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be worried. Remember, I said I went to 18 different doctors. A lot of them said, hey, you're just getting older, or oh, there's just a little water on your neck, or those hot flashes will go away soon. So they didn't seem concerned because all of my test results came back normal. They didn't seem concerned, but I knew in my gut that there was something else going on. So on top of the perimenopause, there was a ton of stress. There were things going on at home, at work, and within my community as well. So I had to unpack each of those layers with the help of a team of folks. Had to unpack those layers in order to understand how I could move forth during this period. So if a doctor or someone's telling you, don't worry about it. I would say that this is the perfect opportunity not to worry, because remember, we're walking in faith, but to recognize and honor that what you are feeling are true feelings and there are ways to navigate around them, right? So when we're in that situations, a lot of times what we'll do is figure out, I can fix this. I can't lose any weight. I think eating might have something to do with my stress. I'm going to just cut out carbs and fats. And what we'll learn during this process is carbohydrates and fats are two of the three macronutrients, and we cannot cut carbohydrates. If your doctor tells you to cut carbs or fats, ask the next question. What do you mean by that? All right. Because a lot of times they mean carbs like ice cream and potato chips, but they don't mean good, healthy carbs like a sweet potato. And then when they're saying fats, again, it's like fatty types of food, not an avocado or olive oil. So always ask that next question. What do you mean if you want me to cut carbs and fats? And then not only per doctor advice, we see so much that we start to do it ourselves. And then sometimes we skip meals. I was totally guilty of this. I would get up in the morning and it would be 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, wait, I haven't eaten today. And that was really during perimenopause, that was making things a lot worse for my body. What we'll also learn is everyone is an individual, but for my body, it was making it worse. Waiting it out, hoping that everything will settle down, going to Dr. Google, finding the best next influencer out there on social media. All of those things are things that we normally gravitate to, but aren't necessarily, in most cases, the things that are going to help us. It doesn't work because we are unique individuals. If you have an identical twin, your gut is different in your identical twin than in your own self. So going to Dr. Google and following influencers and so forth is not going to help. You need something custom specifically for you. Now there's some broad things like eat your macronutrients, or don't eat ice cream for every single meal. But a lot of times it takes working with a coach or an accountability partner to help you kind of reel in what that healthy fat means for your body. So you're unique. That's one reason it doesn't work. It doesn't work because your estrogen, progesterone, and your testosterone levels are constantly changing. We're not going to get into hormones today. We're talking specifically about food, but I do a hormone workshop as well. So understanding what is going on as it relates to your hormones is really important. And again, cutting the carbs and doing all of this other stuff doesn't necessarily work because our hormones are constantly in fluctuation. Where our blood sugar is more easily spiked, if you feel like, oh my goodness, am I diabetic now? Or, I get dizzy after I eat something sweet, or I need to eat all the time, that it's like intense hunger pain. It's because our blood sugar spikes often when we are perimenopausal, or can spike. So insulin resistance becomes a real thing. So it's important to understand that, again, cutting the carbs, cutting the fats, just Googling things is not necessarily going to be beneficial because you're uniquely you, and understanding the foods that you're putting in your body is really important. And then we have stress. Like I said earlier, yeah, I was perimenopausal. I knew it was the food, the hormones were changing, but I had so much stress in my life during that time that I clearly did not recognize, because once I start doing everything right and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling better, but there's still something off. I actually had someone approach me and basically said, put your big girl panties on and you need to confront this stress at a respectful level. And once I did, I'm like, oh, I'm starting to feel better. So again, it doesn't work all the ways because we have stress. It's environmental stress, like the toxins that we're putting on our food, in our bodies, lotion, skincare, in our homes, at work. All of these cause weight gains. And again, it's not something that we can necessarily just Google or go to a social media person and influencer and look for. But what does work is eating a way that keeps your blood sugar steady so you have energy instead of crashes, choosing foods and timing meals so your body knows it's safe to relax instead of holding on to stress. And this does not mean, every day at 5:02, I need to eat one apple, and then at 5:45, I need to eat salmon, a sweet potato, and a big kale salad. It's not that type of timing, but it's more just consistently throughout the day, eating small meals to help your body stay full, recognize that it is going to have the nutrients that it needs. And then that's also, this works because supporting your hormones with balanced meals instead of constantly battling them with restrictive plans or extremes. So if you fast, 5 days out of the week during perimenopause, that may not work for you. If you choose to go just plain juice for 6 months because you want to lose weight during perimenopause, that may not work for you. Extremes do not necessarily work, especially during perimenopause, because there's so many other things going on. So it's really important that we understand what is going on. Again, but once you start supporting your hormones, eating those balanced meals, eating in a way to keep your blood sugar steady, all of this will work, right? So eat regularly, even if you aren't hungry. Eat balanced meals. We talked a little bit about macronutrients. We'll go over those a little bit more in just a second. Stop demonizing food. Carbs are not bad. Fats are not bad. It's the type of carbohydrates and the type of fats that don't work for our bodies. And then be grateful. Before a meal, if you're saying that rote prayer, and I'm guilty, thank you, Lord, for the food we're about to receive for nourishment of our bodies through Christ's sake, amen, kind of thing. That becomes rote. It's something in our mind. But if you had 30 seconds before you eat, taking that moment to have a moment of gratitude actually lowers our cortisol. And our cortisol is the stress hormone in our body. So it not only benefits us because we're being grateful, and God wants us to be grateful, but it also is doing something to positively impact our body. So these are a couple of things that you can do. All right. So let's look at a couple plates, and I'm going to ask you guys to interact with me during this section. So I'm going to show you 3 plates here, and I keep moving this little thing around with my photo, and it's, yeah, I'll tell you. I don't have to tell you what these are because you can see. So these are 3 different plates. And the question is, which plate is best for blood sugar balance? A, pasta sauce, meat sauce. B, as you can see, the salmon and vegetables. Or C, chicken, sweet potato salad. Anyone have a guess which one's best? You can just put it in the chat, A, B, or C. All right, I'm seeing B. Yep. Yep. Anyone else? All right, I see that there, and ding, 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 that is right. B and C both work for blood sugar balance because notice the chicken, it's not fried. There's some, instead of a white potato, there's a healthy sweet potato there. So both of these would work. With A, which is a common meal that we may eat, the salad in the background is small, and then the carbohydrates are going to spike your blood sugar as well, and the carbs are found in that pasta. All right. So let's see if there's another one in it. No, not Flores. And I think it's Flores. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Now I'm hungry. Exactly. Yeah, me too. Let's see here. What's missing? Okay, the next one. What's missing from this meal? If you can put that in the chat for me, that would be awesome. Like this is can be a typical American breakfast. So what it's called, oh my gosh, it's called SAD, but I can't remember what standard American diet. This is part of a SAD or standard American diet, where we would just eat this each morning. All right. So what do you think is missing from here? Yep, there are no vegetables. Exactly. There's no healthy carbohydrates. You've taken all of the fiber out of your orange because you've juiced the orange. And also orange juice is a sugar bomb. So if you wake up in the morning and you drink some orange juice and you're like, whoo, I have a lot of energy, that's because you just put a lot of sugar in your body. But what if you watch and maybe in the next hour or so you kind of crash, that's because that it wasn't the healthiest form of energy for your body. So instead of a breakfast like this, we'll look at a couple of options for you. But yeah, there's no vegetables in here. There's no healthy carbohydrates. There's no protein. And as women age, we need protein in our bodies. There's different rules of thumb. Some people say 1 gram per body weight. I usually say 20 to 40 grams per meal. Again, it's custom to you. There's seasons where I need more protein because my body feels like it needs more. My brain isn't operating properly, or I'm exercising a little bit more. And then there's times when I'm more sedentary, like I'm planning a workshop, or I'm, you spending the whole day in front of the computer, doing ads for the podcast or something like that. So for me, I try to do it based on how I'm feeling, but on average, 20 to 40 grams. I believe in most women, is going to get you where you need to go. All right. So I also picked something else that will probably make you guys hungry. And I'll just go through this one real quick. So we chicken, potatoes, and greens. Something that we may eat at a Sunday meal. Maybe we're going over grandma's house, or to our mom's house, and we're eating a meal like this. A lot of times, what I find is helpful is not telling people to stop eating their favorite foods, but understanding how your favorite foods can work for you. So instead of fried chicken, maybe it's oven fried, or maybe it's a baked chicken or rotisserie. Instead of white mashed potatoes, you bake a sweet potato at 500 degrees, peel the skin off, and then mash that up. It's so good and so sweet. You will not miss the mashed potatoes. And then for the greens, my son is a vegetarian. My grandkids are vegetarian. His wife's a vegetarian. So am I. I'm pescatarian. But taking the meat out of the greens and making sure you're doing deep flavors like garlic and smoked paprika and things like that. Substituting out is really powerful. And then understanding what those substitutes really are going to get you in the long run. That's a lot of things that I do with my clients. Like some of the herbs that you would put in your vegetables or sprinkle on top also help build protein. They're also healthy for your overall health as well. So, all right. So protein, carbohydrates, and fats. I just threw a couple pictures up here because, again, I eat salmon once or twice per week, but primarily vegetarian. And people are like, well, how do you get your protein? Well, I get them from my fruits and vegetables. So there are opportunities and I do not encourage anyone to go vegetarian unless they are working with a coach, a nutritionist, their doctor, because there's some risk involved if you're not getting enough protein, and it's harder to find B12. But I just wanted to throw this up here to say that it is possible. So the apple has 0.5 grams of protein. The black beans, about a cup, I had to write these down, you guys. Oh, I didn't write the protein for those down. Avocado has 4 grams of protein. The sweet potato, 4 grams. The chickpeas have about 14.5 grams, and then the edamame has 18 grams. So there's different ways for you to get protein throughout the day. So it does not have to all be plant-based. Why is this important? Why is this important for women who are navigating through menopause? Because the macronutrients help, again, support your body. If you are having issues with brain fog, memory, you can't remember your kids' names. I'm better. I eat better, so I am better. But there are some times, I'm telling you what, your heart health, if you have conditions with your heart, or you're having a lot of inflammation in your body, you maybe have COVID several times, or you have get a cold frequently, or you just kind of feel off. Bloating, your face is more bloated, your hands or body, different parts of your body are more bloated. That's inflammation in your body. And while we're talking about fats and carbohydrates and food like that, what we're not often talking about is what actually deeper is going on. So while fats control inflammation and carbohydrates reduce inflammation in our body, inflammation leads to diabetes, cancer, heart disease. So it's much bigger than not wanting to use a fan all the time for hot flashes, or being able to sleep comfortably at night, or gaining a little bit of, adding to the love handles that we often have. Understanding how you're eating is impacting your body. Again, cancer, the heart disease, and the diabetes. So fats are good for memory, inflammation, avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, fatty fish like wild caught salmon. And I put wild caught on purpose because Seafood swims in its own feces, so you want to make sure that you're not eating farm raised. If you can afford to not eat farm raised, I strongly suggest that you don't. Wild caught is always better, and you want to eat something healthy, even if you have to, maybe eat smaller portions, just because of everything just costs so much money right now. Oh my goodness, groceries are crazy right now. So take the take that for what it's worth. Carbohydrates, fiber, again, they're energy providers. So if you think about the example that I love is an apple versus apple jacks. So think of a little kid, and you give the little kid apple jacks. Kid A, little Reuben, gets apple jacks, and then Silas gets an apple. They both will immediately probably have a burst of energy, but like probably 15, 20 minutes later, little Reuben, who had the Apple Jacks, is going to be hungry. He's going to be like that crazy kind of energetic, like, like running around. And then throughout the day, he probably won't have a good stool movement. But Silas, on the other end, who ate the apple, his body, he's going to have fiber, so he'll have a good stool movement. He'll have a steady energy, and he won't need food again in the next 15 to 20 minutes. So think about that when you're thinking about carbohydrates, a good carb versus a not so good carb. It stabilizes your blood sugar, it reduces inflammation, helps with weight management as well. So carbohydrates are not going to make you fat if you're eating healthy carbohydrates. You want healthy carbohydrates, and you want to make sure that your stool is consistent. So the healthy carbohydrates slash fiber will help you with that. So whole grains, oats, quinoa, fruits and vegetables. It's important that you eat the rainbow. If you're like, yeah, I only will eat spinach. There are purple, yellow, red, green vegetables, and eating the different colors. Each of the different colors provide different types of nutrients. So it's important if you only like green bell peppers, just want to tell you the red, yellow, and orange are much sweeter. I have a sweet tooth if you haven't been able to tell by now. So eating the different colors is also important. Again, for carbohydrates, beans, lentils, nuts, and seeds. And then protein help build muscle. So as we age, what we do not want to do is fall. I don't want to quote this wrong, but I think I'm right. It's 67%, somewhere in that area, of elderly people who fall die in a year. So we want to be building muscle so that we're strong and we can remain independent and take care of ourselves. And they don't die because of the fall. They die because of the impact of the fall. Like they're no longer able to care for themselves. A lot of times depression sets in. Think about it. Think about maybe your, neighbor's mom who was fine. She fell on an icy sidewalk. And then all of a sudden you're like, 6 months later, it's like, how did she pass? So it plays with our mind as well. So getting enough protein, doing things like strength training, keeping our bodies healthy is, again, it's more than the weight. It's more than, eliminating the hot flashes. It's more than healthy hair. It is about what we are setting ourselves up for so that we can live long term on our own. And yeah, on our own. My parents are 85 and 84, still living on their own. Like my dad drives to church and to all his golfing activities and so forth. But so it's really important. And I want to be 95 doing that. And I can't do that unless I'm getting the macronutrients that I need. So again, protein, chicken, turkey, fish, seafood, eggs, again, 20 to 30, 20 to 40 grams per meal. And it can be easier to get than you think. So those are great macronutrients for menopause and perimenopause. I'm going to just run through the next couple slides real quick. Here's an example of what a breakfast could look like. And look, you have green and yellow and white and red. It's so pretty. I have black plates and I do it on purpose just so I could like see the colors pop. I eat with my eyes and I eat for texture too. So I need something smooth. I need something crunchy and I need for it to look pretty. So that's just me. But when you're eating the rainbow, that the prettiness will happen. You could add an Ezekiel bread to that. Ezekiel bread, you purchase that in the frozen section of your local grocery store. Some berries, so you're getting all of your protein, carbs, and fats in this meal. For lunch, bowls are great. Leftovers, I the other when was, I don't know what today is. Today is Tuesday. So Sunday, I pickled onions. So rice wine vinegar, sliced up some red onions, put them in a jar. And then the past couple of days, I've just pull out some of the onions and laid it on top of whatever salad I'm having or whatever bowl that I'm having as well. So just adding those layers of nutrients is really important. Um, oh, snack is important throughout the day as well. Snack is not a protein bar. I'm sorry. If you're eating a protein bar, I want you to take a few seconds, flip it over on the back, and look at all of the sugar, the additives, and the things that you probably cannot pronounce or are not familiar with. You want to eat food that you know how to pronounce, that you're familiar with. And on purpose, I have never had a protein bar sponsor for the podcast. I mean, maybe one day I will find one that has only whole ingredients, but right now I can't. And that's because I don't feel comfortable telling you all to purchase something that I wouldn't eat myself. So make sure that when you're with your snack, you're doing things like this: handful of nuts, nut butter. Last night, I cut up half a banana, drizzled some almond butter on it, some chia seeds, some roasted walnuts, and some pistachios. I swear I was having a banana split, but got to play a mind game with yourself and do that. All right, and for dinner, here's an example. And then the workshop will be there will be a replay of the workshop, so you can always get this information later. All right. So I want you guys to do something. Grab your pen and paper, please, and thank you. We said we were going to build a plate. So I want you to take 2 minutes and build out your plate, like vegetables, protein, healthy carbs, and fats. I'll go back to the other slide so you can get some ideas of what that plate looks like. And don't put anything on your plate that you would not eat. So if you won't eat nuts and seeds, don't put it on your plate. So try to think of things that you already enjoy that you can put on your plate. So again, vegetables, about 50%, carbs 24, protein 24, and you got to throw some fat in there. All right. So let's take 2 minutes and let's work on that. All right. Does anyone need more time? You can put it in the chat. All right. Does anyone want to share what they have? You can put it in the chat, or you can just take yourself off mute if you'd like to share. I don't want to call anyone out because I know some of you guys may be at work or you just may be shy. Anyone?
Yeah, sure, I'll go.
All right, thank you.
Chicken, um, avocados, and quinoa.
Okay.
Those.
And so would you be full with that, or do you think you would add something else to that meal?
No, I believe I'll be full with
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would another thing you may think about. So would that be in a salad or on a
Yeah, a bowl.
bowl? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so quinoa bowl, awesome. I love that. Love that so much. Another couple of things that you could add to it. You could add some tomatoes if you like that,
Oh yeah.
or like I personally like roasted tomatoes unless it's fresh out of my garden. So maybe some roasted tomatoes, some spinach, some kale, maybe even some sliced bell peppers could be added to that because you want to add some more color and then you want to get a vegetable because you have really good protein, you have really good fat and carbohydrates on that plate. So make sure that just add some vegetables to that as well. That's really good. I like that. That sounds like a dinner winner for me tonight.
Yeah, I think so. Me too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyone else? All right, all right. Sounds great. All right, let's move back through these real quick here. So what I think is important is we can walk through this and you're like, oh, I can kind of, look this up, or I already know what to eat, or, but I want to talk to you about it not being just about food. It's not that you don't know what to do. It's that something keeps getting in the way. All right. So for me, a lot of times I just don't have a plan. Like I may have not meal prepped for the week. Sometimes it's my body just feels a little different. I'm not quite sure what I need to do next. Last week we had a family, we had a funeral in the family, and I had to, be around a lot of different people, and I had to make sure that I was still eating steadily so I didn't get sick. So how do you plan for that? How do you plan for going over your mom or your grandma's house when their feelings will get hurt if you don't eat the food that they put in front of you? Do you know what I mean? So we understand what to do, but a lot of times we don't do what we know we should do. So doesn't Paul say that in the Bible? Like he says, I know what to do. I just don't always do it. And I think a lot of times what that takes, especially when we're talking about nutrition, is working with an accountability partner, someone who can help you stay accountable, help you navigate those particular situations like travel or going to your mom's house and having to eat that, Sunday pasta dinner. What does all of that look like? Right. The cycle we often live in is, we'll start on Monday. All right. That was it got so bad at one point, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to start on Monday. I'm going to start on Tuesday. That was my rebellion, right? So then you do great and then fall off, or life gets stressful. So, life has been so stressful for me for the past 30 to 60 days, just like every single thing keeps happening. Like, what is going on? So, food can become a go to if you're not careful. So, understanding that I have an accountability part. I can call someone and say, hey, I'm a little bit off right now. Um, Call and check on me. So having that accountability, I think, is really, really key because again, you can know what to do, but being able to navigate it on your own often becomes part of the struggle. We will fall off, feel stressed, frustrated. We often start to blame ourselves. We talked about that a little bit more like, hey, I should be able to, or I just can't. Understanding that it's not just about the food that we're eating or not eating, it's about there's more going on, and working with someone that can help you navigate that is really important. um, think about what's really driving your choices. And so again, I have examples here, but does anyone want to like put in the chat like why do you eat if it's not just to stay alive? I think this was key for me. When I figured this out, I was like, oh my gosh. But anyone want to share that? Again, you can take yourself off mute if you like, or you can put it in the chat. All right. All right. So no one's responding. And okay, I got one. Let's see. What's this one? Mood change. Yes. Yep. Mood change, hormonal change. I think those are huge. For me, you know what mine was? Boredom. I'm like, why am I sitting here eating and I'm not hungry at all? And it took working with someone to kind of walk me through the mindset part of it. I'm like, I'm eating because I'm bored. I'm not hungry. I don't need a sweet. I don't there's nothing going on right now. And I had to understand what I could do when that boredom, first of all, I had to recognize why I was eating or eating the way that I shouldn't be eating. And then I had to build some muscle around what to do when I got in that situation, right? Loneliness, exhaustion, stress, not having an accountability partner. My accountability partner will shame me to goodness, but I love her. And that's just how we work with one another. You know what I mean? And then I'm accountability partner to other people, and I don't do that to them. But that's how we work together. So this person I've known for 25 years, she's like, what did you eat? Are you sure you needed that? But when we first started working together, she was a lot more calm. We've built that type of trust and that funniness with one another. But when I'm in times where I can't reach out to someone, a lot of times that makes the struggle a little harder when you're feeling overwhelmed. Midlife feels different because it is, right? This is such a different time. I don't know how many of you, I remember, in my 20s, if I had a wedding or something to go to, I'd be like, wedding in 2 weeks. Let me exercise real quick and eat right real quick, and that might meant one less pizza slice a week. And then I was fine. But all of this is so different. It's mentally draining. It's physically draining. The weight gain, I didn't have pimples as a 16-year-old. And I'm like, why am I getting pimples at 50 years old? Why is my hair falling out? It just feels different. My body has changed. Your body has changed. But no one perhaps showed you how to respond. They never showed me. If they would have, I wouldn't have ended up at 18 different doctors, right? So having someone help you understand how to respond to these changes and how to stay on a steady track. Again, the food plan can feel simple, or it can be simplified because we're thinking that's all we have to do is get the food right. Or I can just go to Google and figure out the food part. And you can, but again, it's the part that is often missing is once we figure out, then what do we do? How do we implement this into our daily lives, right? The hidden weight that you're carrying, it's not just physical weight. In some cases, it can be mental weight. So again, I don't say anything that did not apply to me. So it may not apply to you. And if it doesn't, yes, good. You're like more than halfway there. But for me, it was mental weight as well. If you remember back in the beginning, I talked about all of the stress of home and work. And, I had a kid graduating with his master's degree and a kid getting ready to go to college, and one kid got his bachelor's degree. So there's money going out the door, and then my body's changing, my hormones it was just a hot mess. So that mental weight was a part of, I had to get past that mental weight in order to get the food and the exercise part right. And so working with someone often helps, or helped me do that. And that's part of the work that I do when working with other folks, helping you get to the root cause is what I always say of what is really going on. Like, an apple is better than Apple Jacks, but why do you choose the Apple Jacks instead of the apple? Why doing this alone isn't working. If information was enough, you'd already feel better. Again, we have tons of information. What you need is clarity around why it's hard to meal prep, or why it's hard to say no to grandma, or that pizza cake or pie that she's made, or additional support and a plan that fits your real life, and not just your life, in general, but your life custom, because again, each one of us is uniquely created, right? A better way forward is, again, you don't need more discipline, you need a different approach. So one of my clients, Lynn Ann's awesome. I every time I do this workshop, I'm like, I need to put a before and after of Lynn Ann. So she came to me. She was already working out. She already knew what to do. She already had a coach. She had a coach that was helping her with training, and she was prepping for a marathon, but she could not lose weight. She didn't have energy. And so she decided, I did a presentation somewhere, and she joined up with me, and immediately we started working together, and I helped her get to the root cause. Lynn Ann's why I give the example of not being able to say no at grandma's house, and what you can do and how you can navigate that situation, how you can learn from it, how you can have more impactful conversations with grandma, instead of just saying no. But the results were really amazing. In 3 weeks, she lost 7 pounds. And for her, that was great because she's like spending money on all this other stuff. And then when she was able to work with me, she was able to lose the weight. So, Lynn, I loved working with her. She was awesome. And then there's Tanya. Tanya's concern was around being told that she was on track to have type 2 diabetes. She was pre diabetic, and every person in her family had it. Her dad, all of her aunts, several had passed from diabetes related things. And she wanted to just sleep better. She wanted to get her numbers more in line. And we did. We worked together. She made some changes around the way she exercised, the foods that she ate, the mindset, and then she is it's been over a year now, 2 years actually, with Tanya, and she's still on track and not on any diabetic medicine. So but what I want you to understand is it not just physical, it's your body, your mind, and your spirit, because they're all connected. And when I said in the beginning, menopause isn't just hormonal, I want to talk about the isn't just right now. So I want to build the faith plate. So we got all this right. Let's say that we know everything we need to know about macronutrients. But what about God? For me, it was food and faith. When I started to focus on what the word was telling me about my body, how I was known before I was put in my mother's womb, and how I was fearfully and wonderfully made, and that I am a child of God. He calls me a friend. When I started to not just read that, but started to make that part of who I was, that's when every single thing changed for me. That's when all the good stuff started to happen. So I want to help you build a faith plate as well, with prayer, meditation, and praise. So what some of us may think is, I love God, but I feel disconnected at this time, or, I'm too tired to pray. I'm physically and spiritually exhausted. I used to feel strong in my faith, but now I feel numb, or I don't even know what or how to pray anymore. Should I be praying, Lord, let me learn the lesson that you have for me in this season, or Lord, get me out of this season? I was praying the latter for a long time. But both of them. But really, I'm like, I gotta get out of this season. What is your purpose behind this perimenopausal season? Because if we think about it from a spiritual standpoint, there is a purpose. We're making this shift in our lives where we are now more wise, more understanding. We have so much as women right now that we can offer and give. We just got to get through the hot flashes, and we can do that with nutrition and exercise. But when we get through that, we have so much more we can offer. So that refocused faith is really important. A lot of times, again, when we're feeling like this, I love God, but I feel disconnected, or I'm not praying the same way, we feel guilty because we think we should. I should still be volunteering every single weekend in the Kids for God ministry. So I'm talking to myself again. So for 17 years, I volunteered, and then from March 23rd of 2017, I was actually on a business trip. I was in New Orleans. And before that night I ended up in 2 different ERs. So when I got back home, I stopped volunteering. And I felt so guilty. I'm like, I need to still be volunteering during this season, but I just couldn't. So a lot of times we feel guilty, or we compare our faith walk to earlier seasons in life. I should still be. Assuming distance from God means we're failing spiritually. There's even seasons with God. I have a fasting group, and we were talking about how some of us hit fasting really, really hard in January. And then throughout the year, some of us will hit fasting and prayer hard. But then there will be seasons where we're not fasting or praying as much, but we still love God. It's just a different season that we're in. So we can't assume that we're distanced from God during this perimenopausal season. It doesn't work for us because we just start to push through. We think we need to do all the right spiritual things, pray for 12.5 minutes per day and everything will be okay. There is no right way. Your relationship with God, as you draw closer to with him, he will tell you what is right. There's no right or wrong. He will tell you what season you're in. And so that's, again, why I combine food and faith, because that's what we need to get through this season. uh, I don't want you to ask what's wrong with my faith. Instead, what is God inviting me into this season? Does he want you to start a brand new career? I closed my nonprofit and started coaching women on menopause. Not that quick, but that was a transition I made. He invited me to a new season with my husband. He invited me to a new season with my children. He invited me to a new season with my parents. Like, what is God inviting you into this season, and how do you take hold of it? But you can't take hold of it unless you are healthy. Like, we can't go into this season sick, like tired and stressed out and anxious and depressed and not overweight in a fat versus skinny kind of way, but overweight in a way where the weight is causing other issues, heart problems, diabetes, cancer, things like that. We need to. I always struggle with the weight thing. I don't want to say like you need to be the right size. That's silly, but I want to say that controlling the or getting to a place where we're eating healthy and we can be physically healthy. That's it. That is where we need to be. So that maybe that's the season he's inviting you into. He wants you to be more physically healthy because he has a whole bunch of stuff planned for you that you need to be physically healthy for. Maybe for that missions trip, or maybe so you can work in the Kids for God ministry, or maybe so you can get on stage and deliver his word, or so maybe you can work with other women who've been in that way, that's navigated this season. What is God inviting you into? He wants deeper trust, your presence instead of performance, and listening instead of doing. That's hard for me. Again, just telling on myself. So, faith plate. I want you to build out your faith plate. Remember, we said it's worship, prayer, and meditation. Worship can be worship music, but worship is also time with God. So, it's not just about music. Prayer is prayer. What time are you praying? How long are you praying? What part of your day are you dedicating to prayer? When you wake up in the morning, before you go to bed at night, throughout the day, when you're doing laundry, when you're washing dishes, when you're, changing the grandkids' diaper, when you're cooking dinner, what part of the day are you spending with the Lord? And then meditation. How are you getting alone to spend time with him? So I'm going to give you another minute or two and then map out this day. I'll give you a couple hints on a couple of things that I do. So before you get started. So for worship, I just play worship music all day. I can't sing a bit, but when I get to heaven, I will be able to sing. But I just play it all day long in the background. Not all day, but most of the day. Where it relates to prayer, I actually put on my phone, and it varies. I think now it's like 11:03 or something. I'll get an alarm that says gratitude prayer. And then at 11:03, what I'll do is spend 2 seconds, thank you, Lord, for the day. Or sometimes I will physically fall on my knees and pray, depending on what's going on in that day. But if I don't put that alarm on my phone, I will be like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh, I haven't been grateful for anything. So, and then meditation time as well. So I said all that to say, when you're building out this plate, think about how you can consciously build out time for the Lord too. So in worship, in prayer, and in meditation. All right, let's spend a minute or two. Let's spend 2 minutes doing that as well. And I'll turn on some worship music. All right. All right. Hopefully, you guys were able to think of a couple ways. Maybe you didn't do all three. Maybe you were able to put in one for prayer, meditation. This is the real plate, right? Because if we don't build this plate out, the other plate won't work. The food plate won't work. We need to spend this time worshiping, praying, and meditating to the Lord. This is so important for us to do this during this time, right? So I'm personally convinced that food and faith are complete game changers in our lives. We need both of those in order for us to be able to navigate this season. And that's exactly what I did. I combined these two things together. Initially, I needed support though to kind of kick all of this off. Like I didn't understand exactly what I needed to do in order to build out these next steps, right? So I got an accountability partner, and that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about. Um, Accountability. When do you First, I want to ask you a couple questions though, and then again, feel free to take yourself off mute if you want to, or you can either write these down, and as you're writing them down, maybe you want to respond to them to yourself. When do you struggle most with food? All right. If you're still having your cycle, it may be around certain times of the month that you struggle most. It may be when you're in a high stress situation. It may be, work related. When do you struggle most with food? And then think about, what are you actually feeling in that moment, right? What's going on? Are you bored, anxious, depressed, sad, not feeling like you're enough, or are you hungry? What do you need in that moment that food is trying to solve, right? Bored. So, yeah, yeah. Flores says at night, a lot of times this comes up for her, and she's either bored or sad. Yeah. Boredom is huge, huge. Stressful events, feeling low, helpless, need a quick fix. Yep. Yes. Yep. While I'm looking at this, I'm like, unfortunately, both of those apply to me. Couldn't I just be one? But yeah, boredom. But for me, more now than in the past, it has been that needing a quick fix. Like, oh, if I could just eat that piece of pie, all my troubles would be over, right? So, and then your pattern. What is your pattern? When I feel, maybe stressed out, I reach for chocolate because I need a quick fix. Yeah. Suki answered that for us. All right. Or for herself, and then potentially for us as well. All right. So I want you to think about these. Think about these questions that I posed to you, because again, it's much deeper than just food. It goes to what our mindset is, what's going on in our bodies, what's going on in our lives, and so forth as well. And so that's what I say when I pulled all this together. I'm like, well, Stephanie, can you really help people? But yes, I can really help you. And I can do that by offering to work with you as an accountability partner. We don't know one another. We're just getting to know one another. So what I'd love to do is offer you a window, a peek into my window as to how I can support you. And I can do that with what I'm calling the 7-day midlife reset, right? So I'm working with someone right now, and we've had the greatest time together. So this is new, and with the 7-day reset, it's a plan for food and faith. There's relief from cravings, energy crashes, and hot flashes. You'll gain clarity on what actually helps your body feel better. Notice a real energy and mood shift, and stop forcing your body and start listening to God. All right. So, what do you get in this 7-day? Well, I wish I could figure out how to move this little thing around, right? All right. So, in the 7-day, you'll get a 7-day meal plan. So, we'll hop on a call together, and I'll, say, Flores, like, what do you like to eat? And then I'll build out a 7-day meal plan that does not just include meals, because remember what we talked about. We need a faith plan, we need a plan around stress, we need to understand what it takes throughout the entire day, besides just eating food, to get us through that day. So I'll build out that plan for you. Again, you'll get that 15-minute jumpstart call so we can get to know each other a little bit better. And then at the end, after you go through your 7 days, you'll have another 15-minute call with me. And during those 15 minutes, we'll see how things went, where there could have been some tweaks, and I hope you navigate that as well. You'll get daily personal support messages to your inbox, and then a daily stress reset and prayer focus, and then 2 meditation videos are also included, right? So again, this is more, instead of it being part of my larger work that I do with people, I wanted to put everything into a week real quick, just so you can get to know a little bit about how available I am to you and how we could potentially work together. And because you stayed until the end, if you sign up today, there's also a bonus. So again, you get the 15 minutes and then another 15 minutes. But in addition to that, I'll add another 30-minute bonus, and that'll help us get into the weeds a little bit more about what is going on and how potentially I can support you further. When I work with clients, I do work with them over an extended period of time, getting personal about what is going on with them and how I can best help them. So, again, this 7 day reset is the perfect introduction. Again, it's the meal plan, two 15-minute calls plus a bonus 30-minute call, and then all the additional weekly support. So I currently have 14 spots available. We've been doing quite a bit of these workshops. So there's 14 spots available. I would love, love, love to work with you, to get to know you a little bit better, help you with your food and with your faith. All right. Let's see here. Are there any questions? Any questions that anyone has? And it doesn't have to be related directly to this. All right, not hearing any. Again, I would just want to let you know that, again, it's still available here, but also you can always find me at hellohotflash.com. That's my website. If you arrow to the bottom, that's my personal email address is there. It's Stephanie at stephanielynshaw.com. But again, it's on the website, Hello Hot Flash. And then please make sure that you listen to the podcast. There's a weekly podcast that comes out, and then there's a limited series podcast also that is designed specifically for Christian women. So again, I'm so grateful that you spent some time with me today, and I really hope that you take a picture of the QR code, go ahead and sign up so that we can get to know each other a little bit better, and I can support you during this season. Everyone, thank you so much for your time. Here's to your health. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Flores. Yes. Will I send the link after? Yes, I'm going to send out. I'm sorry, I didn't see that there. I am going to send a link and the replay as well. So I'll get that out to you guys in a few here. All right. All right. Thank you, guys. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.